I'm ready. Can you hear me, Heidi?
I can. We're gonna go live right now and hit record then, and we'll be ready to start in just a second. We are live and ready when you are, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, my apologies. I was planning on being there in person tonight, but we just got back from our trip late last night. We're over in Prince William Sound there, and I wasn't able to make it over to Soldovia tonight in time. So I'm back up in Anchorage. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Soldovia City Council, Monday, November 8th at 6 p.m. And we'll go ahead and do roll call. Peyton?
Will be joining us in just a minute in person.
Okay, I see she's still online. Maybe Steven's listening. Nathan?
Here.
Sweat?
Here.
Rojas?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
And Swick?
Here.
Okay, looks like we have a quorum and everyone is in attendance tonight. And Heidi, since you're in the council chambers, if you'll go ahead and lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Excused absences, we have none. Item D, agenda approval.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda of tonight.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda by Rojas, second by Sweat. Any further discussion on the motion to approve? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote on approval of the agenda. All those in favor, Peyton? Oh, she's not there yet. Sorry. Nathan?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye. Kennedy?
Aye.
And Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and one vote. A council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. On tonight's consent agenda, we have item 1, which consists of the approval of minutes for the regular meeting, October 25th, 2021, and the minutes of the special meeting, October 29th, 2021. Does anyone wish to discuss any of those items separately on the two sets of minutes? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the consent agenda.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda first?
Yep, sorry about that. Yeah, if we can get a motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda by Rojas, second by Sweat. All those in favor, Nathan?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Swick?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Tonight's consent agenda is approved. And mayoral proclamations, we have none tonight. Public presentation prior notice. Looks like we have nobody tapped for that. Item H, public presentation for items not on the agenda. Heidi, do we have anyone that wishes to speak tonight on item H?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one Miss Laurel Hiltz.
Okay,
Hi, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me okay?
yeah, I got you loud and clear, Laurel.
All right, thank you so much. Just moving from one holiday to the next. We had a great set of Halloween events in the community and lots of folks having a good time out there together, hopefully safe. And Certainly had a challenging week last week, but folks coming together, and we're looking forward to what lies ahead with the Thanksgiving weekend and then into the Christmas holidays. So I will be reaching out through the social media in the community and just asking folks to give us information on any holiday events that they have planned, whether it's Thanksgiving dinners or Christmas programs or shops, any of those kind of things. So if you know of anybody doing something, have them let me know, and then we'll post that for the community so everybody has a good list of what all's going on. But for sure, we know that there will be the annual Christmas tree lighting at the Main Street Garden will take place on Saturday, December 11th. And there's talk of maybe adding a Christmas car parade after that. And then lots more fun as the month goes along. So those are some of the things that we're looking forward to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Laurel. Appreciate that. Anyone else, Heidi?
I'm not seeing anybody else at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that will conclude item H. Item I, committee and advisory board reports. Each member has 5 minutes, and this looks like item I1 tonight. First one up will be Walt Sonnen, board president for the Soldovia oil spill response team, discussing the SOS roles and the board of directors responsibilities. Good evening, Walt.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm Walt Sonnen. I'm been the president of the SOS response organization for some years now. And Rachel asked me to speak a little bit about the organization and where it came from, where we're going now. We first started in 1990. I was not exactly a part of that organization then, but it was a result of the oil spill, which affected Seldovia adversely, and the organization was initially started by Tim Robertson and several others. We have a volunteer board, which right now there are 8 sitting members, myself, Jamie Martin, who is our office manager, who also serves as the secretary. Mark James is our vice president. Josh Patrick is our treasurer. And we also have Brett Higman, Stephen Payton, Todd Paxton, and Tim Robertson. Todd sits on the board because of his participation. He is the manager of CISPRI, the oil spill umbrella for the whole inlet, a very large organization that we sort of work under. We initially had quite a bit of money when we started out. We had a fishing vessel response management contract, and we had a full-time manager with a secretary. We lost that to Homer about 5, 6, 7 years in, and when we first started, we I guess lobbied for and were gifted a oil response barge, which was a 600-barrel barge that we parked here in the harbor, and due to Coast Guard inspections and just general maintenance, we couldn't afford to maintain the thing, and we eventually hauled it out of the water, and it sat here for several years, and we sold it to Clean Seas, which is an oil spill outfit on the North Slope, and we received $50,000. And we lost the contract with the fishing vessel management, and we lost the barge, but we had $50,000, and we have been chipping away at that $50,000 ever since. And we saw it was getting to the point where we were going to auger in, and we have been working with CISPRI for quite some time doing GRS exercises, because we form a large part of CISPRI's contingency plan for this part of the inlet, doing what they call GRSs, which are geographic response strategies. And these are little mini protection things. We will protect something like Hohen's Lagoon, the harbor, or Fish Creek, or Jackaloff Bay, Outside Beach, etc. And we practice these exercises to just in case there's a spill, for which we are reimbursed by CISPRI. And we have a markup, and that's been some of our revenue coming in, but we also have lots of expenses, insurance and payroll and whatnot. So we haven't done exercises for the last couple of years because of COVID. We did one earlier this year in the spring and May, but that's about it. And so we've been basically losing $5,000 to $6,000 a year, and our $50,000 has sort of gotten winnowed away. And we talked to Todd Paxton, the CISPRI manager, and we told him, he said, you know, we're going away. We are very much a part of your contingency plan. And if you want us to survive, we're going to have to get some sort of a hard contract with you so that we have more money coming in. And he stepped up and suggested, well, let's change your membership. And we did. And the suggestion that he offered was that the members of his organization, or the Hill Corps, Marathon, and the large operators in the inlet, and they pay him to be a member, for which they receive services. And so he suggested a similar arrangement with us, and he volunteered to become a member at $12,000 a year. He also suggested that perhaps the city can join and be a sponsor member. And Cassidy, who was city manager at the time, volunteered to the tune of $3,000 a year. And I personally didn't think that would last very long, the city's finances being what they are. But she assured me this, you know, you guys are important. We want to see you survive here. So anyway, we changed the bylaws and the membership, and along with that, with the sponsor membership came a seat on our board. So we expanded from a board of 7 members to what became 9 members. And we've been, well, up until this time, the city has treated us very generously. We've received free moorage for our skiff, and previous to that, this barge. We receive office space at $100 a month, which, and as a part of the city office, which is very generous. I'm sure it's worth a lot more than that. And now with the sponsorship, so we feel somewhat indebted to the city. And we have talked about working with the city on their emergency response for other things. But that's pretty much what I have to say. The board meets once a month on the second Tuesday, normally in the city offices at 5 o'clock, but In the summertime, we've been meeting at the pavilion, and in the wintertime, we've been doing Zoom meetings. However, for instance, this month, the meeting would be tomorrow, but we called it off because we have nothing to talk about and very little activity. So like everything with COVID, we've been sort of quiet, I guess. And anyway, I guess some of what we're talking about tonight is that John Colberg was sitting on our board, and he was replaced on the city council. And it's up to the council to appoint one of yourselves to come sit on a board if you so desire. And I'm open for questions, comments.
Can I join your board?
Thanks, Walt.
I didn't understand you, Harmony.
So my husband sits on the board with Walt and thought it would be fun if we did something together, and asked if I could join your board because I don't have anything else to do with my time, apparently.
So you'd like to join the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Rachel, is that something that we need to notice and put on the next agenda, or is that something we can do tonight?
Merit is on your agenda for tonight as an action memorandum. The city clerk thought it would be good to get it on there just in case there was someone this evening that wanted to sign up.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it's number 5 on the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever we need to
Okay.
do, we should do it quickly.
Glanced right over that one.
Exactly.
Okay, any other, while we've got Walt here, any other, and then we'll get to that down in item number 5. Any other questions or comments for Walt?
I have a comment.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Walt, for your report and for being there. And don't feel indebted to the city because we need you guys. So we're glad that you're here and you're staying.
Well, thank you. I can't understand you, so your mask is pretty thick. Is that it, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, that's it. Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, Walt, but she basically said, thanks for what you guys do, and you don't have to feel indebted to the city at all. We appreciate what you guys do. So I think most of us share those same sentiments.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Walt. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item I2. The next report will be from Allison Rain. She's the Planning Commission Chair, and this will be a presentation on the Soldovia Planning Commission review of the 2014 Soldovia Comprehensive Plan. This will be found on page 18 of your packet.
All right. Well, this is Allison here. And can you hear me? Am I good?
Yep, we
All
got
right.
you loud and clear, Allison.
All right. And just FYI, it's my last name is Rhine. I like to clear that up because I know it's spelled like rain, but nope. We have enough rain as the way it is. So it's Rhine.
Okay.
Yep. And so, yeah, the Planning Commission looked at the comprehensive plan that was completed in 2014, and it was meant to last for another 20 years. Doing. One interesting thing about this plan is that it goes well beyond the boundaries of the city. And it includes things that couldn't really be done alone by the city. So that was a little hard for us to then evaluate how well the city had done, because other people have to contribute, to really make the plan function. So they have these 5 plan elements: economy, transportation, land use, community and human resources, and the environment. And each of these plan elements has goals and also then recommendations. And they add up to 24 goals and 42 recommendations. So there's a lot of little pieces that go into this plan to see how well it's been accomplished.
Are you losing her, Meg, or is it just me?
Yeah, no, I'm losing her too a little bit.
Okay, okay.
We
Okay.
lost her in
Well-
chambers as well. Hello?
Okay. Yep, we got you now, Allison.
Oh,
Yep, we lost you again there. Yeah, we still can't hear you. It's almost like a connectivity issue or a bandwidth issue.
okay. Well,
Now, yep, you're back there.
talk real slow.
Yeah, it's just, you're just completely I don't think you have to talk slow. It's just you're just when your connection's just dropping off and we just lose you altogether.
Okay. Sorry
give
about
her-
that.
Nope, that's fine. Just give her a whirl here and we'll see how we do here.
All right, I guess I just direct you to the letter that was written, that it will cover all of what we did to review the plan. And maybe if there's questions, that would be a good way to proceed.
Okay. Any questions, or comments from council on the report?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just have a question. Who is on the planning these days?
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi, if you've got the makeup. I know we've had a big turnover
Yeah.
here lately.
We do, and so we have Mr. Tom Dietrich, Miss Allison Ryan, and a Mr. Roger Forsberg. So we are open for 2 more seats.
And are they, so obviously she doesn't live in city limits. There was a change there.
Yes, there was an ordinance change a couple of months ago that allowed for 1 member of the planning commission to be at large
Oh,
outside
okay.
of the city limits, but the rest.
So the
still
other
to be
2
in-
need to be in. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yep. No, we need 2 more members for that are inside city limits as residents.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments regarding the report for council?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read through every line here, but I guess I would be asking Allison, were there any surprises or anything that caught the interest of the planning and zoning that they weren't aware of, or anything that was confusing, or something that was a question? Maybe we lost her.
Yeah, you're still there, Allison?
Yes. I heard the question. This surprises were that the scope of the plan. And we learned the actions were all the items that the recommendations that the city could really work on.
Mhm.
Whereas synergies were required other groups to participate. So that was kind of a surprise or a finding. as you go through the plan, it becomes more and more clear. There's a lot in there, but it's was a good community effort at, what in 2014, what people really wanted.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
So I'm about to show my deep ignorance here, but so I read through this plan a couple years ago and thought that's a lot of fancy words to say we haven't really done anything. And I'm looking at, and I've looked back over this, and again, it's a lot of nice ideas and all things that could and should happen. I guess I'm wondering, what is the process for making these things happen, and what is the purpose? So are we just bringing this back as a way of like realigning ourselves, like refocusing our energies? What is our goal here in reviewing this and discussing it tonight? And
Yeah, right.
what are we doing towards accomplishing these things?
Yeah, I can give my 2 cents, I think, and then I can let Rachel chime in, but yeah, I think it's all of that, right? I mean, originally, so every community has a comprehensive plan, if you will, some more comprehensive than others. They take in a lot of different areas. Obviously, ours has a number of things that Soldovia needs to focus on. And then we have not really done it, performed any kind of review in 7 years. And this is a good starting point to basically get a scorecard, if you will, of what our planning commission thinks where we're actually at in terms of progress towards meeting any of these goals and objectives. We always talk about it, it comes up all the time during deliberations and stuff on certain items when we start discussion. Yet we really don't have a good grasp of what we've actually done or where we're at with some of those tasks. So I think this was a good way for the body to take a look at this. And then you can see when you start looking at the ratings, it's kind of interesting. Even though there was some question marks on a couple, but you've got, the ratings are fairly what's the word I'm looking at? They're fairly level across, although there are a few of them where you can see you might have had one of the commissioners, disagreeing in terms of where they felt we were at on accomplishing the goal versus another one that maybe felt we were substantially farther along. So but in the end, when you start looking at the averages is what they did, then you can see that the goal from 0 to 5, 0 being nothing, 5 being accomplished. A lot of them fell within the high 1s, low 2s, some to the high 2s. So it's kind of interesting. It looks like we've made some mid-level progress on a number of them, and others not so well when you go through these. So that's just kind of my take on it. Rachel, you can chime in there if you've got some additional.
Thank you, Mayor. That was a great take on it. I would also just add that and I know Councilmember Payton in particular brings up the importance of PR and public relations. And so the comprehensive plan took, I think, a year or more. It started in 2013, bringing members from all over Soldovia to come together and share what they thought the vision of the community should be until 2033. And so the comprehensive plan is actually excellent for demonstrating the community's broader voice and what direction they think the city should be headed in. And so grant agencies or the state of Alaska or the Kenai Peninsula Borough, and especially the Seldovia City Council, like to review the plan to see what direction did the community want for Soldovia in the long run. And as Chair Ryan said, it's not everything for the city of Soldovia. It actually is only successful with collaboration. And so, seeing Walt Sonnen in the audience, that's a perfect example of collaboration for the city of Soldovia, but it also takes into account working with partners like Soldovia Village Tribe, or Soldovia Native Association, other nonprofits and the community, like the NOAA Laboratory. I mean, those are outside of city limits organizations, but bringing us together to see how aligned, like you said, our vision now is with the long-term vision of the community 2033. And as the mayor said, we haven't reviewed it comprehensively, to use a word, in 7 years. And so now the council has a planning commission rubric or grading score for how we've been doing. And this is something that the former city manager talked with the council about. It was on your objectives and trajectories document, that it's something the city should look at. The code also says that the planning commission can help the city with reviewing plans like this. And so we had the land use management plan in mind. So with the planning commission's review of the comp plan, where there are things in there as the council's working on the land use management plan that should be factored in so that all of the plans are talking together.
May I ask some follow-up questions?
Sure.
So all that sounds good. I'm wondering if we can be more proactive in getting the community involved. I know it's always the trick to get people to be involved, but maybe in talking about this here tonight, that makes us involved or aware of the progress that we're making. But maybe the planning commission can hold some sort of like SOC event, perhaps, where we try to invite community members to participate in the discussion. I know that we had, like you guys said, quite a few people from the community come and partake in the initial conversation. It just would be cool to see some sort of action, like proactive actions taken by the various boards that make up these decisions, to include the community members in the conversation and see where we can do to be making forward motions on this stuff. Because I mean, it's really nice on paper, and it is something that I think everybody would like to see these things, but unless we're all working together, like you said, to make things happen, it's just a lot of pretty ink on white paper. I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Harmony. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I do have one. This is Allison.
Sure, Allison.
I think that if the council could look at the actions at the end of the plan, there are recommendations that are called actions, and that can be a source to help guide what is worked on, because these were items that came up as needing to be done. And one of them has been completed, the water treatment plant. So, they're all there waiting to get a.
Well, we lost you again, Allison.
It's in the letter.
Okay, so in my pack, so we've got, there's 9 pages of 9, and then we've got so Allison, are you referring to the commission findings at the end of each section?
It's in the plan itself. The actions, they're A1 through A15. On page 46 of the comprehensive plan.
Oh, I got you. Of the plan, in the plan itself. Okay, I got you. Yeah. Yep, I got you. Okay.
So it's just a list of things that were important. And then some of them came up more often, so they were higher priority. But I've kind of summarized that in the letter.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
is this our plan? The city of Seldovia developed this, or did we get it from somewhere else? What?
We have a comprehensive.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
Yep,
This is
go
our
ahead.
plan.
Yeah,
Go
this
ahead,
plan
Vivian.
was, George, this plan was developed by, we brought in a consultants who do this kind of thing. And it went on for, I think they were here for a couple of months. And so they worked within the city council members and then within community members. And it was developed for and with the community in city limits and outside the city limits. They took input and then it was developed. So yeah, it was something that was developed specifically for Soldovia from what input they got from residents of the area.
Okay, thank you. I see so many things in here that I just don't understand. There was some grading livability. I don't know what that means. There was another word that I'd never heard before, catalyzing. What are we trying to do here? I mean, expand municipal services beyond existing municipal boundaries only as a condition of annexation. Do we really want to do that? And why are we spending all this time worrying about outside the city limits? Seems we have plenty of things that keep us real busy right here within the city limits. In fact, most of the problems we've had lately seem to be people outside the city demanding services that they're not paying for.
Yeah, and I think, George, to answer, I think what happens when the plan was when it was originally implemented and discussed. I mean, there was probably a wide variety. Obviously, I wasn't here at the time, but there was a wide variety of people that participated in that endeavor. And I'm sure there was a also broad community input and thought process on, what was important to some people, and obviously maybe not as important to others. I don't know how, how it came, the final wording came to be, in the plan, if they voted on it or, how that, and Vivian, you may have been a part of that. I'm not sure how that process was finalized into the, I'm sure the council had probably had to adopt a plan. So
Yeah,
at the time they would have had to vote on it, I'm sure.
Right. It was brought before council at different times where it was and where the plan was going. And basically, you just need to remember that this is a long-term idea and concepts of moving forward for a community. And so when you read it, when you look at it, even the previous one that we had way back a long time ago, I mean, they're good for 20 years or something. They figure that you're making a projection of what your community, what's important to the community at this time and in the future. So it's kind of a blueprint that you may use and you may not use, but you use it for guidance. It's a concept and the idea of it.
Yeah, and I think you're right though, George. I think not all of those elements, that were rated. Some of those obviously, when we look at like the one you talked about, expanding municipal services beyond existing municipal boundaries only as a condition of annexation. I think there may have been, a fairly good discussion on annexation back then, but obviously, that got very low scores because we haven't done anything with that because it's at this point right now, it's not currently a reality. So I think there's going to be some things that we can look at, such as the zoning, the administrative policy, and then that, have higher scores as we've completed some of those things as we work through our code and made good progress on those. But other things are going to, fall to the bottom and may not even really be pertinent. So. And ironically, land use is going to come before us again here. And then to Harmony's point, hopefully we will have a number of public, help us work through that process when we move forward on that. Any other questions or comments on the report?
I have a comment.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just give a little history, Vivian will remember. The last comprehensive plan was 1980 and it was this thick. So in 22 years, we've met, or in less than 20 years, and I don't know, whenever this plan was adopted, it went to this. And Harmony, your very, very good thoughts about getting the public involved. When we tried to review that 1980 plan, and there was two people, myself and Mark Massion, and Rhonda Robertson, who was the city clerk at that time. She came and took notes, and we tried to go through that thing, and it was insane. There was the things you think, this is a downscale version of the 1980s plan.
Look, my congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that plan is around if you want to read it someday.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Anyway, no, from what I gather at the time and to now, the comprehensive plan is supposed to engulf, a little bit of everything happening now, in the near future, and in the far future. That's why you're seeing certain things on this plan that maybe we'll address once or twice, and maybe we'll address it again in 10 years, So, but we're supposed to have a comprehensive plan for various things. When we plan, whatever we plan in town, we need to have this comprehensive plan and try to follow it somewhat. So anyway, good luck with finding people to help you on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Okay, any other closing comments before we move on here this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there is a comment from the public.
Okay,
Ms. Laurel Hiltz.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. If you can hear me okay?
yep, loud and clear.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I had the opportunity to participate in that process that took place. And actually, I thought it was executed really well. I think where execution might not be as amazing, and probably what Mr. Nathan is encountering, is that sometimes things can be set aside and not brought forward for review. But I do believe this has been brought forward at different times. And I think, as Allison said, there are items that things can be checked off. And I think that's something to celebrate. I would always caution any language that comes from within the city council that wants to strive to disassociate the individuals of this area who live outside of the city limits. I think we probably should all acknowledge that there's a healthy symbiosis that takes place with people who live in the city limits and people who live within the boundaries of the village. And knowing that of the, 25 to 27 full and part-time employees and seasonal employees of the city of Seldovia, that a large percentage of those folks, I bet, do live outside of the city limits. And when you look at the folks who are volunteering, like Allison is volunteering to serve, and you look at people who are serving in your fire and your EMS and being the responders to significant calls, I would just ask that the city council stop being dismissive of the individuals who live outside of the city limits, because we celebrate you, we celebrate us, them. I live in town. I celebrate that I live in town, and I sure darn heck celebrate the folks who live outside the city limits who benefit this community equally. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you, Laurel. Any other additional final comments before we move on? Okay,
Yeah,
Alice,
Mr. Mayor,
oops, go ahead.
real fast. Just touching on what Laurel said, there was a lot of, I was working in the office at the time of this, and there was a lot of involvement, and there was a lot of, I don't think it was ever considered a just city thing. There was a lot of involvement of people outside of city limits. And I think that was always taken into consideration. As far as the annexation piece goes, I believe you are right that it did coincide with some of that talk of that time. So I don't think that was necessarily something, it was added as something from that since those conversations were going on, just to not, I believe, not dismiss the whole idea. But yeah, it was created by the city, but it was for the community as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, Allison, just wanted to say thank you to you and the commission for taking your time to go through this plan. Yeah, this was probably a fairly large endeavor. You guys probably had a number of hours into this, and yes, we will take another look at this. Obviously, I'm sure we'll be talking about this a number of times here going forward, especially as we start getting into our next one up, which was the plan element 3, the land use. That's going to be coming front and center here. So this will be a good opportunity to revisit where you guys thought we are currently at, and then where we're headed here in the near future. So appreciate all of your efforts on accomplishing this.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to item J, administrative reports. It looks like we have none tonight. Item K, public hearings. Item K1, ordinance 22-06, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Soldovia, Alaska, amending Soldovia Municipal Code 6.08.050, availability of funds, and 6.08.070, execution of contracts. And this will be found on page 29 of your packet. And if we could have the city manager take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. So as the city works towards bettering its current financial standing, I've just been reviewing our procurement code and our process for going forward with contracts. And so I saw a couple items that I thought were worthy to bring before the council as a code change through this ordinance. Ordinance 22-06 brings up the fact that the city manager could spend up to $40,000 for a contract or service without, and including supplies, and construction without city council approval. And so this ordinance reduces that from $40,000 to $5,000. I thought that was more within the purview of the administrator, because I think that contracts that exceed that amount should come before the council. Council approves items through the budget, and so you give the city manager authority through the budget. But for example, let's say for the public works outside labor services account, you approve a budget that has $80,000 worth of authority within that account. Even though you've given permission to the manager that they have that amount of money to spend, I still think the manager needs to bring forward the contract if it exceeds $5,000 to the council, so that council can see that the manager did competitive purchasing. If it wasn't competitive, the manager shows why it was sole source procurement. It ensures that the council knows the terms of the contract so that the administrator doesn't necessarily bind the city to an agreement that the council isn't aware of all of the terms. So I think that's really important to make sure to have council oversight. I also found that the code had a section that was redundant that you could remove. One code section states that the city manager will provide quarterly reports to the council of all expenditures over $10,000, but then in another section of code, it already requires the city manager to provide monthly reports of the receipts, expenditures, and fund balances. And so that's what the finance officer helps the city accomplish at the second meeting every month. And so the ordinance before you has one more change. It also says that the city manager should be signing every contract that the city enters into. Before or currently the code says that the city manager can designate a purchasing officer and they can make the decision of signing off on contracts, but I think that that should still be within the city manager's wheelhouse. And so the ordinance changes it so that it's the city manager signs the contracts regardless of dollar amounts. And I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Go ahead and open it up to council for questions or comments.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great cleanup of this ordinance. So I'm in full support of the changes that have been made. And I think they're just what we need moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else on council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I agree with Vivian on this and I support this ordinance.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, I'll just offer a quick comment. Yeah, I on its merit, obviously, I support it. I'm just concerned that I don't want to get too, I don't think we should be getting too micro. I mean, we're going from 40,000 to 5,000. That's a pretty big drop. I don't know how often you're, writing single transaction checks, for goods or services or contracts for more than 5,000. That do you have an idea? I mean, since you've been here, does that happen very often up to the 40,000, or is it still not very often?
Not very often. And I guess the reason why I thought this would be important to bring before the council, Mayor, is that because of the city's financial standing, yes, you guys don't want to become too micromanaging, but I think for the time being, the council should have a very in-depth understanding of what obligations are being made under budget authority for construction services or supplies, because I wouldn't want the city to find itself in a position where it couldn't meet specific terms, even though they were agreed to through a contract, which could end up hurting the city later on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. And I appreciate, I know your thought process. We've talked about the, moving forward and small steps. And this obviously would be another, small step and a controls function, basically, moving forward for the council as, to use as a tool. So, okay, nope, if you're comfortable, then I'm comfortable. And I don't see any issues with it. So, any more comments?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Go ahead.
So is this including, when we're talking contracts, we're not talking your everyday bill, like your HEA bill?
That's a great, through the mayor, council member Swick, that's a great question. And the finance officer asked the same thing. The city, first and foremost, must have already signed an agreement with HEA way in the past. So that's already a longstanding relationship. So HEA, same thing with ACS for internet, like over a large amount over the full year, we could hit a large dollar amount, but those are already contracts that have been in place. So this is moving forward. If the city was looking for a service or construction or buying supplies, then it would come before the council if it was over 5,000.
Okay, I just wanted to, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. So we're not looking at the HEA bill every month saying, yeah, sure, pay for the lights.
Yeah, and that would have been similar to our old payment, remember we used to have our payment report that would be on there, and then we would approve that. So, yeah, and I think, again, that's what we're all just want to make sure we're not getting down too micro. Obviously, we can take a look at this if this passes, and then if it were to become a problem in the future, take a look at it. So maybe it'll bring out some good points too. So, okay. Any questions or comments from the public regarding ordinance 22-06, Heidi?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final disposition and
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead.
may I move to accept ordinance 2206 and the amendments provided to us by Ms. Freelander?
Whoops, Harmony, I didn't catch that last part of your motion.
May I make a motion to accept ordinance 2206 with all of its amendments as presented by the city manager?
Yep, so we have a motion to accept ordinance 22-06 as written. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept by Peyton with a second by Rojas. Do we have any additional discussion on ordinance 22-06? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote on ordinance 22-06. All in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item K2, ordinance 22-07, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Soldovia, Alaska, amending Soldovia Municipal Code 15.18.080, maximum vessel length from 35 feet to 27 feet. This will be found on page 31 of your packet. And if we could have the manager take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. So this came up during our discussion regarding jackaloff, that the city does not have general liability insurance coverage or marina liability insurance coverage for vessels that use jackaloff bay dock that are over 27 feet. After the discussion with council regarding jackaloff bay dock, I went to our insurer and asked them to explore all options. And so they consulted every marina liability insurer and all denied additional coverage for jackaloff bay dock. So at minimum, the city can make this administrative step at updating signage to say that only vessels 27 feet or under are allowed to use jackaloff bay dock. Now that won't prevent people from still tying up, and that still exposes the city to risk and liability, but at least it addresses some aspect of our limitations with liability coverage. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Council, any questions or comments on ordinance 22-07?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
how does this affect the water taxis that are coming and going there? Did they fall within this 27-foot limit or not? Talking about primarily Mako.
May I?
Yep, go ahead.
So through the mayor, council member Nathan, we had a water taxi operator attend the work session on Jackaloff Bay Dock, and they shared that their particular vessel was 26 feet. And so they would still be able to use Jackaloff Bay Dock, but anyone over 27 feet should not be using it if council passes this change. So they would just continue to pull up to the beach and load people off that way.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I'm in full support of this. It's something the city needs to do, obviously. So I get the signage up and we move forward with it. It's our only choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else on council? Yeah, I just have a question. Rachel, did anyone, did you or Heidi, did anyone actually reach out to Mako himself, just as an example, just to talk with him to see, I don't know, I know they have a number of vessels and they contract with a number of vessels as well, to ask them, you know, what, I mean, I don't see that it's going to change anything. I'm just curious if you were able to reach out to him directly.
No, Mayor, I didn't. I'm assuming because the participant that attended, her name was Carrie.
I think it was
Carrie Hendrick.
Yep.
Yeah, she works for Mako, so I'm assuming that's the case, but I know we try not to target specific businesses, but I think if council passes this, we would of course broadcast the change, like make an announcement to businesses, and perhaps if there are businesses that are willing to list the city as additional insured on their certificate for insurance coverage, then council could give me authority to work with businesses on an individual basis that want to continue to use the dock, as long as they meet a minimum threshold of coverage, liability coverage. But for the time being, we can just see what the response would be or will be after this change, if council approves it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
I think I brought that up the last time we talked about this, asking the water taxi or other commercial entity just to add us as named insured on their policy. I don't think it costs anything. I did it a lot of times operating airplanes and it never cost me anything additional to my insurance that was already in place. So that might be an easy solution for anyone, a commercial operator that had a bigger boat.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, thank you, George, for bringing that up. And I remember you did bring that up. My only question would be I don't think any of us fully understand the insurance world and how, and all the indemnification clauses and flow downs, because there's a lot of them and it gets extremely complicated. I would want to make sure that even if somebody did, have an additional additional insured clause in their insurance naming the city as additional insured, that if, I would want to know from our attorney that if someone came off their boat, fell on our dock, whether it's an issue with our dock, or if it was snow and ice, they slipped, broke a leg, or God forbid, rolled over and had a heart attack and died. And if someone decided to file suit for a couple $1 million, I don't think we would be absolved of anything, even with that additional insured designation. So that's what I would want to make sure, is just that we would, if we got into that scenario, and I would agree, it would have to be a case by case basis, but that'd be a good one to run by the attorneys, if we were going to go down that road.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
So I'm in support of this resolution. I was just wondering if, because there's so many people and that use the dock outside of taxis and even just locals. There's so many people that pull in to Jackaloff knowing that that dock is there, bad weather, whatever. So in the interest of getting out as much information as possible to people who winter and say Little Tucka, is it possible to pursue some sort of ad maybe on NPR, like over in Homer, like a radio ad or something? I know not a lot of people listen to radio, but people in cabins do. I don't know.
Oh,
I know.
I think a lot of people listen to the radio, and I
Cool,
think
yeah.
yeah, and I agree. I think that was a suggestion I was going to also, and we could go as far as even doing a simple little newspaper ad and putting it out there due to the condition of the dock and, the inability for the city to get insurance coverage on it, to maintain insurance coverage. We don't have a choice. I don't think any of us wants to go down this road. We don't have a choice. We're going to have to do what we have to do here to protect ourselves. But yeah, it would be nice to get that, that word out in a number of different media, whether it's, Facebook, city's page, newspaper, and radio.
Yeah, I agree with all of that as much as you can get out there. I mean, I know there are a lot of old dogs out there who pull in stormy weather at that, and with intention of using that dock. And I don't think that many of them have vessels as large as 27 feet and over, but all the same.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments before we go to the public?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
putting up a sign, use at your own risk, something like that would help us evade being sued as well.
Yeah, I see where you're going. I don't think it can say use at your own risk, though. I think it has to say prohibited. We'll also need to get the language of that sign run by the attorney too. I know this all seems crazy, but it's because we're living in crazy times right now. So I think if we pass this tonight, then it's going to have to say prohibited. And then that would lead to another question down the road. I don't know if if it became a problem in the future, and I don't want to complicate this, but I don't know if that's something as, simple as getting on a fine schedule down the road, or, if the harbor master goes there and they actually catch a 35 footer tied up to the dock. I guess you just go down first time and say, hey, you can't tie up here. I mean, that's vessels over 27 are prohibited. If it becomes a recurring problem, then maybe we have to look at, getting it on the fine schedule and starting to fine people if it becomes a problem.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep.
One
Go ahead,
last thing.
Vivian.
Yeah, I think this conversation is a good one. And I think giving that information out on KBBI and the different media is a great thing, because it's going to enlighten a lot of people that we have an issue with jackaloff. And that might bring out a lot of people in this conversation as we move forward. What are we going to do with jackaloff? So I think it's a great beginning of a conversation that's to be emphasized because of what we have to do. Thank you.
Yeah, and Vivian, I agree. And I think just to sum it up here, I think this is possibly we know the condition of the dock, and this is probably the beginning of the end is where we're at right now. If we don't come up with funding, we're within 2, 3, 4 years here of us probably having to rip the dock out of there. So that's where we're at. So that's probably going to happen sooner rather than later here, unless we find a solution. So, but you're right. This will definitely spur the conversation here. So, okay. Anyone from the public that wishes to comment on ordinance 22-07?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action on ordinance 22-07.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 22-07.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to adopt ordinance 22-07, second by Sweat. Any further discussion on ordinance 22-07? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on ordinance 22-07. All those in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Move on to item K3, resolution 22-17, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Soldovia establishing the 2022 regular meeting schedule for the Soldovia City Council and the Soldovia Planning Commission with recognition of meeting dates for other city-supported organizations. And this will be found on page 32 of your packet. And Rachel, if you want to take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll actually ask the city clerk to address the council on this resolution.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated, this is on page 32 of the regular packet. This is something that came about last year, and we're going to try to implement annually, just as a approval from the city council of the dates going forward for the next calendar year. It seems like a good system to have in place that everybody can see those dates prior to the start of the year. And December is going to be a little bit busy, so getting it on the agenda now. It also includes the Soldovia Planning Commission dates, and we do include on our calendar on the website SOS dates and SURSA dates as we're made aware of them, as well as Soldovia Arts Council dates and any other dates that people pass along. We try to also include those on the website. But for now, this is just the Planning Commission dates and the Seldovia City Council dates. I do want to point out that in March and December, there's only one date listed for each month because the second Monday, or I'm sorry, the fourth Monday, the second meeting of each month is a holiday. So those two, and then of course, November and December, even if there hadn't been the holiday on the second meeting of December, November and December, we try to limit the meetings to one because of all of the festivities and activities happening. But knowing that we can fill that last meeting if we have to in both those months, and it doesn't include special meetings as they come up. So if you have any questions on that, certainly let us know. The last thing is that there was an additional holiday included in this year that I hadn't noticed last year when we did the calendar for 2021, that actually the state is recognizing December 31st, 2021 as the observation for an observance of New Year's Day, because New Year's Day, the 1st, is taking place on January 1st. So the holidays are listed out there. You can see when the city office will be closed. And there's an additional holiday day this year just because when the holidays land on Saturdays, we observe them on Fridays, and on Sundays, we observe them on Mondays. And that's all.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. This looks like pretty straightforward housekeeping, annual housekeeping. I'll go ahead and open it up to council for any additional comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yep, a good housekeeping resolution, and I think the public will appreciate it, being able to put their fingers and eyes on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the public. Anyone from the public that wishes to speak on resolution 22-17? I see Walt's got his hand.
Yeah, I have a question for the city clerk. For example, if the city advertises the SOS board meetings and we decide not to have a meeting, how do we respond to the public? The public is always welcome to our board meetings, however. But if it's announced ahead of time and we cancel the week before, where do we stand?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, you bet, Heidi.
Yeah, well, so it's just on our calendar as a standing holding spot that you guys hold your meetings on the second Thursday of every month. If you're not having it, you can certainly let us know and I can remove it. Otherwise, I'm sure people will reach out to SOS for more information on those meetings when they're being held. May I ask, where do you guys advertise those for those? Because I have looked before.
We advertise them amongst ourselves, amongst the board members, and we generally have a meeting on a certain day of the month. However, if it's inconvenient for several people, we will reschedule amongst ourselves. And it's not really a public announcement, but we're not trying to be secret about it at all.
Certainly, and we only want to support you guys. So if we can pull them down, we don't have to put it on there as a standing meeting. But if you guys do want to pass along information when it comes available, we can certainly share it.
Okay, well, we can talk about that later. I just wanted to bring that point up. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you, Walt.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you, Heidi. Yep, go ahead.
It seems appropriate that if you have a city council member as part of your board, that they could be an easily communicator between the clerk and the board. So if a meeting is planned, it needs to be posted or is posted, but then ends up being canceled, your city council representative can just email Heidi and let her know. And that way you have an appointed voice for that communication. Does that seem like too many?
If the council, the council member is part of the board is all notified and questioned about, is next Tuesday okay? Or we're going to have a meeting, kind of a deal. And so I think that would cover the question, because the council member would be part of the board.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and then going forward from there, the city council could just reach out to the city office and say, hey.
Yeah.
Sound good?
I think I understand. It's pretty hard for me to understand with masks and stuff, but.
So I'm just saying that if you have a standing city council representative, a part of your board, instead of it being a question of who or how the information is being relayed, your city council board member can be in charge of making the information available to the city office. Then that way they're filling a role and it's not a question. and then it's appropriately broadcasted how that information, whether or not those meetings are being held.
Great idea.
Okay.
Perfect solution. Okay, anyone else from the public, Heidi, that wishes to speak on resolution 22-17?
I'm not seeing any hands raised this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action.
Make a motion.
I'll
to
make a
accept-
motion. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
go ahead,
Bobby.
Bobby.
Make a motion to accept resolution 22-17.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sweat to accept resolution 22-17, second by Rojas. Any additional discussion on resolution 22-17? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote on resolution 22-17. All those in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. That'll take us over to item K4, resolution 22-18, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, supporting Kenai Peninsula Borough Ordinance 2021-40 regarding Planning Commission membership and apportionment. This will be found on page 34 of your packet. And Rachel, if you want to go ahead and take this one.
Thank you, Mayor. So it was shared with council at the last meeting, a letter of support that I wrote on the council's behalf to the Borough Assembly regarding the Planning Commission composition. Initially, the mayor of the Borough Planning Commission had proposed changes informally, and those were not introduced. Instead, Assembly members at the borough level proposed changes to the Planning Commission that would align with what the Soldovia City Council discussed at a meeting in July. The ordinance that those Assembly members introduced is in your packet, along with the memo and the letter of support that I wrote on behalf of the council. Essentially, the borough's ordinance ups the Planning Commission composition from 11 to 13, so that every first class in home rule city has a guaranteed seat. It also states that the people who would hold that seat have to be residents of that area. So the mayor couldn't, if Soldovia had an empty seat, try to appoint someone from Anchor Point to fill it. It would have to be from Soldovia. And then the third change was if the city of Soldovia only submits one applicant for the borough mayor's consideration, that would suffice for him to then appoint that member to Soldovia's seat at the Borough Planning Commission level. Short and sweet, happy to answer any questions.
Hey, thank you, Rachel. Any questions or comments from council? Okay. We'll go ahead and go to the public. Anyone from the public, Heidi, that wishes to speak on resolution 22-18?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council for any, for final action. Any additional questions or comments before motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yep, I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 22-18. It's something that we've been talking about. I think we all agreed on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to accept resolution 22-18. Second by Nathan. Any further discussion regarding resolution 22-18? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote on resolution 22-18. All those in favor? Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Okay, item K5, action memorandum 22-01, confirming the appointment of a council member to represent the city on the Soldovia oil spill response team board of directors. This will be found on page 42 of your packet. And Rachel can take this one. And I think Harmony might have made this one real easy for us.
Yes, she did, Mayor, and I'd actually ask the city clerk to take over that for me.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is on page 42. If you'll see that the action memorandum format has changed just slightly. It was page 44 will give you a representation of what the action memorandums looked like before, where they were showing that they were routed to different departments and had a signature, but we're in a much more digital age nowadays, and it's pretty hard to track people down for signatures from time to time. So instead, this action memorandum format has been updated to where it stands now, with the information at the top, along with the subject, summary statement, fiscal impact. This is the $3,000 a year annually, annually approved through Resolution 2106, and through the budget. And as Mr. Sonnen stated earlier, John Kohlberg was previously appointed to the SOS Board of Directors to represent the city of Soldovia in that membership, that annual membership. So you'll see that Resolution 2106 in support of that membership, and then Action Memorandum 2101 to follow. And the recommendation for Action Memorandum 2201 is to consider approving Action Memorandum 2201, which would confirm the appointment of a council member blank. It sounds like Ms. Payton might have put her name in the hat to represent the city on the Soldovia oil spill SOS response team board of directors.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up to council for questions, comments.
Oh, I was just looking to thank you, that's all.
I'd like to volunteer to take the SOS seat if it's okay with the SOS representative in council tonight.
Okay, thank you, Harmony. Appreciate your willingness to serve. Any other additional comments or questions from council?
Yes, I just want to thank Harmony for her volunteerism.
Okay, sounds like a good family opportunity as well. We'll go ahead and go to the public. Anyone from the public that wishes to comment on Action Memorandum 22-01?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have a Mr. Sonnen.
Okay,
Thank you, Harmony. I think she will be a very good board member.
okay, thank you, Walt. Anyone else, Heidi, that wishes to comment on 22-01?
I'm not seeing anybody at this time.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take 22-01 back to council for final action this evening.
I make a motion, we accept action memorandum 2201, confirming the appointment of council member Harmony Payton to represent the city on the Seldovia oil spill response team board of directors.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion by Sweat to accept action memorandum 22-01, confirming the appointment of Harmony Payton to the SOS board, second by Rojas. Any further discussion on action memorandum 22-01? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote on 22-01. All those in favor, Payton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item L, unfinished business. None. Item M, new business. Discussion on closing the gap, soliciting public input regarding the city's revenues, expenditures, and process improvements. This will be found on page 45 of your packet. Go ahead, Rachel.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff has been working with council over the past few months to discuss ways that we can better the city's financial standing. And so I've had internal meetings with staff to get their input as well on how the city could increase revenue, reduce expenses, and then improve city operations or processes so that they could be more efficient. And so in your packet is a very extensive list of ideas that staff suggested during those meetings. And I wanted to get the conversation before council now because we're going to be entering mid-year adjustment discussions in January and then working on the FY23 budget, which the city adopts in May. We could even try to see if we could adopt it in April if possible. But there's going to be some tough conversations ahead with the council. And so I wanted to take a proactive approach in sharing with you these ideas to see if it could spark some suggestions from the council itself that could be incorporated into this list. And I think it's important to say that just because there's an idea listed doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's just trying to put everything in one place so that, as the mayor said in the past, the city can take a multi-pronged approach at becoming more financially sustainable. And so the hope is that while council has staff's input, at least now, you can start thinking about how individual council members might offer insights for the city to consider. We can then take these same questions to the public right now and ask for the public's input. So that way we have staff, council, and the public working together to help the city answer these questions. And so if there are questions, right now there's 3 proposed to the public. If council has additional questions that you would like to put on the survey that we'll be mailing out to the public, similar to what you saw with the ballot proposition educational materials, this would be the time to suggest those questions, because I'm hoping by the end of this week, the city clerk and staff can work together to get this survey mailed out before people start thinking about Thanksgiving a little too much and might miss something like this in the mail. I just wanted to add that I may throw one more question on the survey, which is trying to solicit the public's input on how the city could possibly apply for the community development block grant for the COVID-19 funding. The state likes to see how the city has gotten the public's input on these projects. And so I thought that the survey about the city's overall operations would be a good opportunity to see what the public thought about what projects the city could go for that block grant on in terms of COVID-19, addressing COVID-19. So I hope that if the council has even discussion points you want to share tonight on how to answer these questions, that would be great. But I hope that at least you have some feedback to share as you are going through the list, as well as any feedback you want the public to consider in a survey they're going to get in the mail soon. And I'm here to answer questions.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. I'll go ahead and open it up to council for questions or comments tonight.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is city manager. I think this is a great list of items that we've addressed with reducing expenses. My question is, with all of these that you've got written down here in the survey that you're planning on putting out, how much of this is going to be given out to the public? Or is this list with city council input going to be reduced down, made larger, and just put in bullet points of all of this? What were you thinking for the
through the mayor, council member Rojas, it'll just be the questions themselves. So it won't be all of the answers. That's just to get council thinking through the topics, and I can always put in the instructions, staff suggestions are posted online if the public would like to see what the city is currently considering, but maybe we can get some new ideas as well from the public.
Okay, great. That's a great idea to put a note in there saying that it's listed on the city's website. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else? Questions or comments for the manager?
Yeah, I do.
Yep, go ahead.
So you have in here about moving the city office down here in order to rent the other building. Has there been interest in that other building at all? Has that come up, or is that just a idea to have out there?
Through the mayor, council member Swick, it's an idea that I've had, especially when, and council will get this data soon. The city clerk has helped me immensely in coming up with energy usage per square foot of that building compared to the multi-purpose building, and seeing how staff could be accommodated in the multi-purpose building. But it is something that currently the city does not have interest from someone in, but I think being a waterfront commercial property, especially as staff are working towards getting the value added building at least put up through an RFP for a property manager or commercial property management firm to help us market. Perhaps there could be future interest in the city office building.
And is there, I'm assuming you'll move into the Soldovia spaces. Is there space down? I've never been in there since it was the clinic. Is there space down there for you guys to move into?
Oh, Councilmember Swick, we have to give you a tour. You need to check it out. It's still in the very rough stages, draft stages. So we'll bring more details forward to the council. It's just on there as a potential suggestion for now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know this has been looked at before. I didn't know if there was an extra push now that it's on there. I don't know. Yeah, let me look through my list. I have a lot of questions. Someone else can go.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else? Questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead.
I saw a reference to something I talked about, I don't know, months ago, about bidding out someone to, I don't remember just which one of the projects it was, but I was thinking if we were able to contract a person to monitor our paid parking that we should have put together by next summer, monitor the campground, monitor the whatchamaflicker jackaloff area, and be the collector of ordinance violations. You might have a business there that somebody could actually make a go with. And we could charge him a percentage of his take with a cap on it, at least till he got going, and then we'd come up with some other arrangement. But it seems like we could cover a lot of bases with one enterprising young man and generate a little revenue to boot.
Thank you, George.
I have a quick question.
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
So I know that land management, land use management is an ongoing topic. I think I've lost track of the big lot to the north of the value added building. I was wondering what the city's intention with that lot was, if we had a plan for that. I think it was currently zoned like commercial industrial. And I was wondering if we were willing to pursue some sort of like bid out for a lease of that land, make that land available for lease. Somebody approached me the other day, like, golf. I don't know. That sounds silly, but I'm just wondering if we already talked about that, if that was in your plan to have that leased out. Are you thinking about leasing it with the value added building separately? How does that piece work out? Because I feel like that's a big piece of waterfront property that the city could make available to potential industry.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
Actually, there is a part of that lot that is available for lease right now on our website, that was opened up for a leasing opportunity a couple of years ago now. I would have to double check. But didn't garner any interest after the whole, not the whole thing is not opened up, but it's, there is one portion of it for an economic development opportunity is what it's listed at. So that certainly can be part of the conversation going forward is we're going to go through every parcel and what their opportunity is for each one if there should be opened up for lease.
So just a follow-up question with that, so I'm like kind of running through what those lots look like in my mind, and they all look pretty cluttered. Is the lot that is open for bid clear? Like if somebody was looking at pursuing something on that lot, are they going to see logs and vehicles and dirt, or are they going to see a something?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead.
I would have to double check on that, but it is the last lot closest to the Sispri lot that's leased. So we'll have to double check and look into that.
Okay, sorry, not to be like facetious, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think Harmony, just to answer your question there real quick. I mean, every one of those lots, every lot the city has is going to come up for discussion when we get the council members to start reviewing. I think it was Rojas and Sweat. Then when they start the review with the administration to go through and do the initial review before it comes to council, and then as part of the land use plan, and then we'll have recommendations on all those. So there's going to be a lot of discussion coming up because we know we have to do something here. So
I have a little more to add to that.
Yep, go ahead.
For whoever's having these discussions later, somebody else had brought up creating a different RV park right there, similar to what Homer has on the Spit, because people don't like to drive all the way out there and drive back into town. Apparently that's too far. Go ahead.
No, I've heard that a couple of
Yeah.
times too, even from previous council members. I think those opportunities would be great to make available.
Yeah. Separate going through this, the trash pickup has always been a thing I've thought could go away. Or not necessarily go away from the city and be an independent thing again as it was before. It seems like that's just a losing venture. And it's hard to keep somebody in that position, as we can see now that Frank and Marianne are not there holding it down. And that could be an opportunity for somebody personally, privately, to do that and to offer it to people out of city limits that could use it a little more than us that are in city limits. I do have some questions regarding the public works and the water operator, the remote. I don't know should I address that now, or I know it's in your city manager report later. Should I wait and ask questions then?
Oh, now's a great time.
So I know it's kind of been a discussion of what do we have now? Who is Jordan full-time and then the other two are part?
So through the mayor council member Swick, Jordan is full-time and Johnny Gruber is at 29.5 hours and John Kuhn is at 15 hours a week. And then through recent conversations with the harbor master, I'm working with her and Jordan to see if that could work to have the harbor master actually up at the water treatment plant as a relief to the main operator. And then that'll also be relief of staff time off of the harbor and put onto the water treatment plant. And then in terms of the remote operator, we can talk about it now and then more in depth during the manager's report. But as a solution to our best practices score, which really inhibits the city from being able to participate in the state revolving loan fund and just overall meet the EPA and state of Alaska requirements for certified operators, because it seems like it's a hurdle that we can never meet because they require a certain amount of hours in order to be certified to the level your plant was built to. And because we don't have a full-time 40-hour, 2,080-hour annual employee up at the water treatment plant, it will take many, many years for us to meet the certification that the state requires to operate that plant. And so in trying to think of a solution, I asked the superintendent over in Homer if in his off time, because he has the certifications, would he be willing to be a temporary employee for Soldovia so that we could meet those requirements and also provide staff with additional expertise in the operation of the water treatment plant. He expressed interest. And so I'm looking to move forward with that and ask the state to help draft the plan needed to be approved by the board at the state of Alaska level so that this can take place.
Yeah, and I guess just in the end, I was just wondering where the money savings are when you are talking 2 full, 2 half. I'm sure you don't have that written out, but it must save money if it's an option on your reduced expenses. I just wondered how much we were looking at, if that was worth something, right? And what is considered full-time? It's not, was it 37 hours, 35 too, something?
It's 37 and a half, and we only have one person that's full-time in public works. And then that person dedicates 2 hours a day on average to the water treatment plant. So there will be no full-time staff at the water treatment plant still, but we'll have relief with bringing the harbor master there. And in terms of cost savings, the cost savings comes in the loans and the grants that the city will qualify for as a result of having that person in place. And so there could be an upfront operating cost that the city puts in. But for example, we had to buy $16,000 sewer lift station pumps that we could have applied for a loan that would have a 75% forgiveness rate. But because we didn't have a high enough best practices score, we're not eligible for that.
Okay. One last one. Since we were just all on the greater talk, there's something on here about better utilizing our agreement with the state on road maintenance. What does that mean?
So the city of Soldovia has an agreement with DOT for the management of our roads. And it stipulates in there that, and actually it's been on my list to see if we could get that agreement posted online so more people could read and learn about it. But it says that, the city can use the state's equipment when available, and vice versa. The state can use the city's equipment when available. And then it discusses what roads are maintained and when, and possibly even staff time. I don't have the contract with me, so I can't review that with you. But perhaps there's more opportunities for partnership that could benefit both organizations.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay,
Questions?
thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Rachel. Any additional comments or questions for the manager? Okay.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Nope, go
If I
ahead.
could just, okay, yeah, if I could just clarify. So Rachel, what you would like the council to do is, for me, I'd like to read through this and then make comments about what you have on the list and then add to, and that would work forward, right? That would work for you?
Great. Council members can meet with me as always individually and share their feedback to be included. Because your council members, I would specify which council member was suggesting which ideas. So that way, as the city moves towards budget discussions, those council members can give more information as to those recommendations. And then in addition to council and staff feedback, we'll also have feedback from the public too, so that you guys have a lot of input on how the city can move forward.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Yeah, and I think the key point here is that this will be a good opportunity. I know there's a lot of members of the public that, you know, have ideas and that have expressed that they haven't been able to get some of those ideas, you know, to the city. So I think this will be a good opportunity for those folks to get that, you know, written on paper and then get that in front of the entire council, you know, to take a look at. I'd be curious to see what, you know, what additional items come up, you know, when the survey is returned. So, okay, let's see if anyone from the public wishes to have a comment or question on the discussion for closing the gap here regarding Soldovia's fiscal issues going forward. Heidi, anyone that you see?
I'm not seeing anybody at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Then what kind of direction? I mean, the plan is to send the survey out. I'm not sure if I mean, at this tonight, I don't think you're not looking for any action on this, are you?
No, it's just to get you guys thinking ahead of time. So we're in November now, and then things really start to pick up for the budget. January, February, March, and then hopefully you guys will have a draft for your consideration in April. And so just providing you the list of insights now, any of them particularly come to mind that you want to champion, or you really want to advocate that the city staff spend a lot of time exploring, this would be the time to give that direction or meet with me individually and just share that feedback.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think there's a good handful of these that have come up, at least, you know, been either briefly talked about or talked about at length over the course of the last year here. So this will be a good, you know, comprehensive, although not completely encompassing list of items both to increase revenue and cut expenditures. So good. Okay. Well, then any other closing comments or questions for the manager before we move on?
I just have one other comment. I've been approached recently about, well, a couple of comments about possibly the city considering leasing opportunities for the campgrounds. So just it's out there, and I think this whole idea of asking some questions and for some inputs a good plan. That's all.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, we'll go ahead and wrap that item up then, and then look forward to seeing the results of the survey when those come back. Okay, it looks like getting close here. Last big action item here tonight, or last informational item, item N, city manager's report in her packet, and this will be on page 53.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So just going through each topic, I shared with the council that we did hear back and we cannot secure marina liability insurance for Jackalope Bay Dock. Something important that happened in partnership with SVT, we've been having meetings to improve broadband or telecommunications in Soldovia, and there was an exciting prospect initially entertained by GCI where they moved forward with doing a survey for a underground fiber optic cable, or not underground, I'm sorry, underwater fiber optic cable that would be able to provide Soldovia with 5G. And so they did a survey and basically shared that because they cannot justify from a business perspective such a significant, expensive, large project, that is off the table for at least GCI at this time for consideration. And so I'm planning to reach out to ACS and see what are ways that the city could perhaps consider assisting them with their infrastructure servicing Seldovia at this time. But I know that council put improved cell phone and internet capability as your second medium priority for this year. And given the fact that we were even able to get GCI to consider doing a survey, that's a huge accomplishment, as well as the construction of the tower by vertical bridge. I don't know if council wants to check that off the list, but those are huge accomplishments that the city has made in partnership with other organizations. And so I hope that feels really good. So even though GCI isn't moving forward with the cable, it's still significant progress on that project. I encourage you guys to start thinking about your council retreat. It's currently scheduled for December 6th at 1:30 to 4:30. This is where the council brainstorms together and sets the priorities for the next year. And then, of course, when you set the priorities, those actually have a fiscal impact, because as we're developing the budget, we look to see what the council priorities are and how the budget is supporting them. So please start to think through what those are. You can find the 2021 priorities on the city website. Let's see. I attended the assembly meeting the night of October 26th to verbally give testimony regarding the planning commission composition changes. So I did that. I'm just using the letter that's in your packet. Mermaid Park. So it's come to my attention that Mermaid Park is not an official park. I like the way that our city attorney explained it as a guerrilla beautification project, where the city took right of way and turned it into a park. And so now we have a property owner that is developing a proposal at this time to vacate that right of way. And so it become a part of their lot in order to use it for parking. And so I shared in the enclosures of the manager's report, the city attorney's feedback on if the city wanted to make steps towards preserving Mermaid Park, acquiring Mermaid Park so that it could be official parkland. Those are the steps how the city could do that. And so if the council wants me to take any administrative action to see if we can make Mermaid Park a park, an official park, please let me know, because there is a constituent that may move to make it parking, at least part of it parking. We had a positive COVID-19 case and city staff. Everything went very well though, very professionally handled. I was glad that the state gave the city at a request free COVID at home tests that we could use for staff. And so we were able to test all employees that were potentially exposed, and everyone tested negative, which was great. So the COVID mitigation measures of wearing the mask, keeping the window open, social distancing works, because I had even met with a staff member and tested negative myself. And so I just wanted to share that that did happen, but I'm really glad that nothing further happened, because if there was an outbreak of COVID-19 in the city, it could significantly impact our operations. And so we were able to make modifications so that we could continue operating efficiently. And I wanted to share on this topic. So I've seen other cities develop policies where if an employee tests positive with COVID, that time that they're away from the city is still paid and it doesn't impact their personal leave time. The city of Soldovia doesn't have something like that in place, and overall does not have sick leave in place for employees. So if someone does have to call out sick, they have to use vacation time. So this is something that's on the back of my mind for improving employee morale and just supporting employees in general. And so I may bring something before the council to address that in the future. I would like council input on using the harbor major maintenance and repair funds, because there was discussion about how the harbor needs maintenance. Currently that fund has a little over $26,000 in it, but council, and that's allocated to the harbor, but council could decide to allocate more or less. And so in total, the major maintenance and repair fund for the entire city of Seldovia only has a little over $200,000 in it. So if council wants to move forward with hiring someone and taking funds out of that major maintenance and repair fund, please give me the direction to do so. And as a reminder, the harbor has a negative fund balance, and this year may mark its 8th year operating at a deficit, but we'll be having more conversations in the future about why that is. Next section is the hiring a remote operator to help the city of Soldovia with its water treatment plant and its best practices score. I addressed that with you guys earlier, but if there's more questions that you have, hopefully what I've written will answer that. Otherwise, I'll bring this before the council for consideration at a later date. I've been inviting people to come to Soldovia, so I invited the University of Alaska's engineering department to come and look at our water treatment plant. HDR Inc., which is an engineering firm out of Anchorage, also wants to come and look at our water and wastewater treatment system. So I asked the mayor if he could be available to meet with myself and operator Cameron to welcome at least HDR Inc. engineers to Soldovia. It's my plan that while they're doing a site visit, I can also grill them on our Title 13 code for utilities, because I think that there's some work that the city should consider in improving our code. I sent a letter to the Department of Public Safety at their request asking for a $40,000 increase to our special service contract agreement that we have in place for our lone police chief to go out of city limits and provide law enforcement services. I looked at previous correspondence and I didn't see a specific dollar amount that the city requested in the past, but I believe this will be the 4th year that we've gone before DPS to ask for an increase, either the 3rd or 4th year. So I provided justification that the contract should be $60,000, and that letter is in your packet if you want to look at that further. Also with SPD, we're working on a voice recording policy because I've gotten feedback from constituents that differs from interactions that the police chief has been having with the community. And so it has put the city in a few they said, he said situations. And so it's very standard common practice for law enforcement agencies to have either voice or body cameras. And I don't think Seldovia is at a point for a body camera at this time, but even Chief Andy Anderson used a voice recorder, and I think it's something that'll help the police department a lot, and Chief Hawkins supports it. So as soon as that policy is in place, every time there's a call for service, the police chief will be recording that for our records. And the harbor parking discussion is slated for the first council meeting in January. And tomorrow I'm going to be attending a Borough Finance Committee hearing on the sales tax proposition that passed here in the city. And then lastly, there's a new internship that's posted on our website to hopefully get someone that can help us with social media, high school or college age student to come help the city promote through storytelling, all the good work the city is doing, and also all of the work that we have yet to do, as mentioned in the various plans that we have, but haven't had a chance to read yet. So I'm hoping that we can get an intern to help the city January through June of next year. And I skipped over a few items in the interest of time, but I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Anyone from council have any questions or comments for the manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel, for a thorough report. I have a question about the Mermaid Park, and actually more specifically, is the Blodgett property, is it actually buildable size? Because I couldn't read the square footage on the map that was sent out in our packet. Is it buildable size? If it's not, then we're kind of at a mute point of him taking possession or wanting possession of the Mermaid Park. Do we know? And I meant to go on the parcel viewer to see what the square footage is, but maybe you know, or maybe our city clerk knows.
So through the mayor, member Rojas, Mr. Blodgett has asked for a variance on a few different aspects to his proposed development. And after looking at the lot, and I don't have my presentation I prepared for the planning commission meeting because we couldn't hold the meeting to discuss the topic because one of our commissioners did not come, and so we didn't have a quorum, unfortunately. But I actually do not think that it does meet the
It's a non-conforming lot then.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think that has something to do with how we proceed with Mermaid Park and expenses with our lawyers. But interesting to find out that it wasn't, it was just built on by the city. Anyhow, thank you about that. And then What was the other part I was just going to ask you about? As far as the harbor improvements, my concern when I brought it up is they're really obvious planks and whatever those parts are. Jeremiah, help me out here. The 8x8s that the boat comes up to that are kind of rotten down in the harbor, whatever those things are called.
You talking the fingers on the slips?
Yeah, on the slips. Yeah. So what I'm talking about, Rachel, is
The
I would
bull
like to
rails.
see
The
the
bull
bull
rails.
rails, right? Those obviously, some of those obvious pieces that need to be fixed that easily that $26,000. I mean, this, what I'm thinking of what there is down there, evaluate what there is and what is obviously needs to be fixed. When somebody who goes down the harbor and walks around, it's pretty obvious what should be repaired sooner than later. And congratulations with the turbidity. Jordan, that's great that he's got that number down as much as he has. That's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
I went up to the little park there along with John Gruber and looked around. That from what I see, there's a sewer line that runs right through the middle of that, plus the fuel lines coming down out of the tank run right along that whole piece. I don't see how it'd be possible to build anything up there without being with setbacks and whatnot, without being on the right of way. And it doesn't seem feasible to move a sewer line or those fuel lines, either one. The other thing we're talking about working on the harbor, back in the summer, a long time ago, at one of the meetings, we were told that there was a bunch of material, dockage material, out at the gravel pit out the road. And I thought at that time we were going to inventory that stuff and get it out of the weather, put it someplace where it would be preserved. It's supposed to be a bunch of planking and other things out there. And I wonder if any of that has been taken care of. I'd also wonder about the repairs to the roof at the fuel building, Soldovia Fuels, if we've made any progress there.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Nathan, that's actually on the list for staff to do this week, weather permitting. It was forecasted that this week would have some sun or cloudiness in Soldovia. And so hopefully that can happen this week. In terms of the material at the harbor, I'm not sure where that project is at in terms of inventorying it to see what's useful. However, staff have made such significant improvements to the storage yard and trying to salvage material that was otherwise, unfortunately, just sitting on the ground, going to waste. And so I can check in with staff to see what they think the harbor could use for those improvements, if that's possible.
Okay, yeah, your staff knows where that stuff is. They told us about it in a meeting. It's out at the gravel pit out the road there.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, any other questions, comments for the manager?
Yeah, I in regards to this Mermaid Park, I feel like it's not something we need to get involved in. Whatever Blodgett's got going on with his property is let him do his thing with planning. I mean, I'm not anti-park, but that's not our property. It'll cost a lot of money to get whatever needs to happen done for this tiny little piece of non-property. I feel like if it comes to the council and we are asked our opinions on it, then I say sure, but I don't feel like we need to go out of our way to get legal involved and surveys and dump all this money into this right of way that's not even ours. I feel like we're getting ahead of things. And it's not really our place and not really something we need to spend time, energy, resources on. Just my thoughts.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, I'm gonna chime in here real quick too. I had an opportunity on regards to that same topic. I had an opportunity this summer when Mr. Blodgett was in town, to go take a look at that, and he walked me through, his plan up there. He just wanted to, get my opinion on it. And, yeah, it's definitely an ambitious plan. It was a non-conforming lot that they own that he wanted to build a house on. I don't think anybody else in town would want to build a house in front of a fuel tank, but of course he has a vested interest in the fuel tank and the fuel company, and he owns that lot. So I looked at it. It's doable. It would require a number of things, such as a variance, et cetera. A vacation to that right away. There's a number of things, but I think, yeah, I mean, he's going through the steps in the right process, submitting the applications, doing the paperwork. And I'll just say, yeah, if there's an opportunity to get a single family residence and on the taxpayer rolls, over a parcel of alders on a corner, I would definitely be in favor for it. So that's just my 2 cents. So hopefully planning will, look at that with a broad lens when it comes before them. So that's my 2 cents. Any other final questions or comments before we wrap up the manager's report?
I have a quick comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
As always, thorough report, really appreciate it. Awesome information on the turbidity. So regarding the internship letter, so I had approached a couple of the high schoolers and recent graduates about the topic, and wasn't met with like super excitement. But when I was reading over your internship what's the word I'm looking for here? Description. Yeah, it's not very child friendly. It's really great. It's really thorough. It's really excellent, like workforce experience for people who are about to enter into that. But maybe if we just had like a cover letter or like a more palatable description. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's a really excellent document. And I think that, like I said, as something you're presenting to someone who's going forward into the life of being an adult is great. But also you're not going to recruit anybody from Soldovia going to Susan B. English with this language. It's a lot. I think it's a really great program. I think it's something that's really exciting, and I'm really excited to see this come to fruition. Maybe we could just draft up something that's a little more layman.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all as educated as you, Rachel.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Payton, so we have to have really thorough descriptions for HR standards. And so especially with applicants that may have disabilities, you have to go over specifically what you're requiring someone to do. I've also worked with the principal to review the description, and I received feedback that perhaps even with something like that, there may not be a Soldovia candidate, because they've at least asked a couple people who have said no, even before the description existed. And so I have sent it out to the Anchorage School District, Homer School District, Kenai Peninsula College, a lot of people, and it's an internship for at least one person. So if we were to get a couple applicants, with one being from Soldovia, that would be great to have students working together from different parts of Alaska. So applicants from the Southern Kenai Peninsula are encouraged to apply, especially Soldovia students. So if you'd want to help me, Councilmember Payton, and maybe drafting that language, we could include it in with the description, but I'm hesitant to not have something be so specific, just because I want to make sure students know what they're getting into if they apply.
Right. So definitely reading it, I understand why you did it the way you did. Obviously. I mean, you have to. And I'm not so, and I did see that you were making it a more broad inclusion process. But I would be happy to think about or to go over with you and more. I'm not saying you should change the description as written. I'm saying maybe include some sort of like brief, maybe you and Heidi could do some sort of video that you send, that you post with it, where you just kind of like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make it more palatable to the audience in which you want to bring in. I do think this program will be really cool. I really like to see some involvement with the youth. I like I said, I'd asked a couple of kids and they weren't super stoked on it, but do know a 20-something-year-old who might be Maddie might be into it. I don't know. You never know. Anyways, really excellent for pursuing this, Rachel. I'm really glad that you did that. Let's keep working on it.
Okay, thank you, Harmony. Anyone else? Closing comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if
Yep.
there's nobody else from the council, there is one hand raised from the public.
Okay,
Miss Laurel Hiltz.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, if you can hear me okay.
yep, loud and clear. Go ahead, Laurel.
All right, great. So Chris Lethine was elected, in September to be the Soldovia Chamber of Commerce Chair. And then he held a meeting in October and resigned by the end of October, and which thrust me into being the president of the Soldovia Chamber of Commerce. But was super happy to welcome Rachel at our chamber meeting this last week, and also to recognize our city citizen of the year and business of the year. And so just wanted to say, as part of Rachel's report, just say a great thanks to her for coming and sharing and talking about our intention to have folks from the Homer Chamber and the Homer City come next May to do a familiarization trip to Seldovia, most likely May 20th. And then with that also, just because Harmony's looking for more things to do, my understanding is, Harmony, that you might be the representative for the council to the chamber. So you should be getting an email from me, and just if anybody's interested in receiving chamber updates, just let me know and I'd be glad to include you all in that list. Really appreciate that greatly. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laurel. Appreciate that follow-up. Okay, anyone else, Heidi?
Yes, we have a Mr. Walt Sonnen.
Okay,
Rachel, it looks like you're sitting on my back porch. Have fun.
Thank you.
all right, that'll conclude the city manager's report tonight. Thank you, Rachel. As always, appreciate that. Item O, informational items not requiring action. Let's see, we got a few here. One, the Soldovia City Council annual training, also references NEO, will be held Monday, November 22nd, 2021 from 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. Item 2, a work session just to discuss Jackaloff Bay Dock is tentatively being scheduled for Monday, November 29th at 6 p.m. Item 3, the City Council Priorities Retreat is scheduled for Monday, December 6th, 2021 from 1:30 to 4:30. Item 4, city offices will be closed Thursday, November 11th in observance of Veterans Day, and that is this Thursday. Item 505, the city manager and city clerk will be out of the office the week of November 15th in order to attend the annual AML conference. And item 06, the city office will be closed November 25th and 26th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. So those are informational items not requiring action. Item P, executive session, none. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Peyton.
Thank you for thank you, Walt, for coming and participating in our meeting. You are really appreciated. I appreciate that you come do this for us. Thank you, Laurel, for your comments. I did receive and appreciate the in-depth email. Congratulations on your new appointment. Thanks for the rest.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel, for a really good report. Staff put together some good stuff for us. Walt, appreciate your being here with us. And Mr. Mayor, if you would give me a phone call after we're done here, appreciate it.
Sure.
And thank you all. See you next time.
Okay, Sweat.
Yes, thank you to Rachel for her in-depth report, and thanks to Heidi for all her work. And thanks to everybody for being here. Walt, thank you for coming.
Okay, Rojas.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Looking at our agenda and what we went through, I think we should be really pleased with ourselves as we're moving forward. And thanks to the audience for showing up, and Walt for your report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kennedy.
Thank you for everybody's hard work, especially the city staff, and it was a good learning experience for me again today.
Thank you, John. Swick.
No comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll just say thanks to everyone again, and all those that testified from the public tonight. Appreciate it, and thanks for the reports. Okay, next meeting will be held on December 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, any objections to the motion to adjourn? Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Hey, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Anymore. I want my seat back.
Too bad. Too bad. Too bad.
Yeah, and you guys, it's really hard to take minutes when there's so much sidebar happening. I'm sorry.